Cooking doesn't have to be difficult. Trust me, if I can do it, you can do it too. Welcome to Cooking with Cimoooooooo. Welcome back, everyone, to Cooking with Cimoooooooo. You're probably surprised to see a second episode, but we have to honor our obligations for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Since we raised $30,000 for them, you guys are getting 2 episodes. Go check out the first episode where we made an incredible steak. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit more complex, although it's still relatively simple because we like to keep it simple here on Cooking with Cimoooooooo. We are going to be making a breakfast sandwich. Now, for those of you who don't know, I love breakfast. Breakfast is probably my favorite meal. I could eat it all 3 meals of the day if I absolutely wanted to, and I'm excited to be sharing this. This is actually something that my wife and I just started making recently, and I thought this would be perfect for the second episode. So what you're gonna need is a few ingredients, but the nice part about a breakfast sandwich is that you can really put whatever you want on top of it. There's even some things that I feel like are missing that we didn't have in our pantry. But in any case, for the basics, you're gonna want to have some eggs, you're gonna have some bacon. We're using turkey bacon, but you can use regular bacon like a normal person. We're just super healthy that way. We have butter lettuce. If you prefer iceberg or romaine, whatever, that's fine. We have 2 different types of bread. One is for my wife, one is for myself because it's gluten-free. We have some cheese, and we have some garlic aioli that we made from the last time that we made these sandwiches. I'll go ahead and give you the recipe for this. I'm sure my editor will go ahead and pop that up on screen once we get to that point, but let's go ahead and get cooking. So the first thing we want to do is start with the bacon, because the bacon is going to take the longest to actually cook. And like I said, if you're a normal person, you can actually go ahead and use normal bacon, but I like the turkey bacon. It just is less fatty, and I've acquired a taste for it, in all honesty. I kind of like it better than regular bacon now, but regular bacon's so salty. So if you're being more health conscious like I am, or if you have some eating restrictions like I do, then this might be perfect for you. I know this is the part that you're all waiting for. 3, 2. And don't be afraid when you're putting bacon in a pan to just touch the bacon, because the bacon isn't going to immediately get hot. It's still going to be cold from when it came out of the fridge. As long as you're just touching it for a fraction of a second, you should be fine. So bacon's going. That's going to take the longest, and the nice thing about bacon is that it is the easiest idiot-proof thing to cook, because as long as it doesn't turn black, you are perfectly fine. Next thing we're gonna do is focus on our eggs. So we've got 3 eggs here, and we also have an egg ring. If you don't have an egg ring, you could also just fry the egg. We're gonna sort of cook it like what you might see in like a McDonald's McMuffin, where it has like the nice volume in the body and really just adds to the sandwich overall. Some other things you're gonna need are just some salt, pepper, and olive oil, but those are like your basic kitchen staples. We're gonna throw a bit of oil in the pan while it heats up. And you want it to get not super hot, but hot enough that the egg will at least sizzle a bit when it's going to touch the pan. If you're using the egg ring like we're going to do, you're gonna wanna put that right where the oil is. You can just use that to move it around a bit. Try to get it in the center of the heat so that it gets the maximum exposure. We're gonna come back over here and we're gonna grab our bread. So this is a Canyon Bakehouse gluten-free bread that I found. I have tried a lot of gluten-free breads in my day. As some of you know, I eat gluten-free and for the most part dairy-free, but we're having a little bit of cheese today because we like living on the edge. I found that this is actually my preferred brand of bread. They don't sponsor this video or anything, but I feel like a lot of the other gluten-free breads are just too grainy or don't resemble bread. So we're just gonna get that going in the toaster, let that go. Tip with the egg is when you are cracking an egg, sometimes if you're used to this and you may be putting it on the pan here, you might get some shells when you're cracking it. The ideal way to do it is to actually just crack it right here on the side. We can actually get a nice crack on it. There we go. And every time you crack it on a flat surface, you should almost always never get any shell within. So there's a little cooking tip for you there. If you're using the egg ring, you want to pierce the yolk. I'm gonna flip this bacon first here. Barely looks like it cooked, I know, but trust me, it'll get there. Those middle pieces look pretty good. Okay, so now that we have our bacon flipped, I'm gonna go ahead and set down our little cover here. This is gonna help just build the heat up with inside the pan, but not fully steam it because we do have some pockets where the air can actually escape, and that's going to help the egg just cook. You're gonna leave it there for about 2.5 to 3 minutes. Quickly check on our egg here. So as you can start to see, it's slowly starting to cook around the edges. The yolk's gonna be the last part to cook, so we'll just cover that back up again. As I said before, personally, I prefer butter lettuce. I think it's the superior lettuce, but everyone has different tastes. One thing I'm also missing from this sandwich that I think would go fantastic with it is some raw onion, or grilled onion for that matter, but we just didn't have any. Let's give all that a nice wash, let it dry. Our toast is looking beautiful. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's go ahead and see if we can flip this egg. It looks like we're just about ready to flip it. Now, some of these egg rings, they come with a little tab, or sometimes it might be a little stick that you can just touch. That's so that it's not as hot, but I found that it's still too hot, so I'm gonna use this little oven mitt here. And as you can see that we removed the ring, look how beautiful that looks. Give that a flip. There we go. Look at that. That's beautiful. And I forgot to throw a little bit of salt and pepper on that, so let's go ahead and do that now. Speaking of flipping, let's go ahead and flip our bacon some more. Now you can really start to see the color coming in on the bacon. It just takes some time. Go ahead and get a little bit of a zoom in there so you can see. Now let's go ahead and get our toast out here. Look how beautiful this is. I think our egg is probably just about done. It is gonna still cook a little bit if you take it off a bit early, just from the residual heat. So we're just gonna go ahead and throw this down right here on our first sandwich. Actually, I don't wanna do that yet, because I wanna go ahead and put the aioli on both sides first. So I'm just gonna put that to the side. And so just like before, we're gonna go ahead and put the egg ring back in. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit of residual on the side, that's totally fine. Throw a bit of oil in. You can use the ring to spread that around a bit if you want. You just wanna make sure it's not gonna stick. And that's what you want to hear. Make sure to pierce the yolk. Guess we moved it a little bit too much, but that's fine. And now we'll go ahead and cover this for the second one. So we can talk about the aioli now. This is a garlic aioli. If you want to make this nice and simple, I will have Mr. Gareth put on screen the recipe. All this is, I'll put the exact measurements on screen, but all this is mayo, olive oil, lemon juice, garlic, salt and pepper. That's it. Nice and simple, and you get a nice delicious little sauce to be able to coat your bread with. And don't be afraid to use a lot. It's flavorful, but it's not overwhelming, and the bread's gonna actually absorb a lot of it as well. You'll see by the time we actually create the sandwich that most of it will probably be inside the bread at that point and almost look like just like you melted butter on top. The last few times I made this sandwich, I always kept thinking to myself, damn, I wish I had more aioli on this because this tastes phenomenal. So that's all ready. We can go ahead now and just place our egg here. I might want to cut this in half. I'll just make a 2-egg sandwich. That's fine. How about that? So we'll put 1 egg there. Egg's still cooking nicely. It's still got maybe about a minute more. But I'm gonna go ahead and cook the bacon, or flip the bacon rather, because I think the bacon's actually getting close to finished here. I personally like my bacon almost on the verge of being burnt because I feel like that's when it's extra crispy. That looks beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and check the consistency here, see if it's ready to get turned. It looks like it is, so we're gonna go ahead and take this off. Almost burned myself there, but that's okay. Beautiful. So for me, this is very close to the point where I'll start to take it out. Once you start to see those little tiny black marks appearing, I feel like that gives it the optimal crunch. So I'm gonna let it bake or cook a little bit more on that side first, and then we'll take it out. I think our egg is done here. You know what? I forgot to salt and pepper this egg too. We are slacking. But in any case, we're just gonna go ahead and just have it join our other egg there. Make a little 2-egg sandwich. Boil that pan just a little bit more. Probably turn the heat down a bit just because it's been building up a lot of heat. We're gonna take some of the bacon that looks finished off and move some of the other pieces that were toward the end, towards the middle, because that's where most of the heat is. So they weren't cooking at an even pace. Gonna go ahead and put our little egg ring back, and this will be our final egg. Just like that, once again, nice and easy, no shells to worry about. Pierce that yolk. Because I love my wife, I'm actually gonna remember to salt and pepper her egg. While that's going on, let's go ahead and put some aioli on her bread here. Let's give that a nice good spread. Now with the aioli, if you like it more garlicky, feel free to add more garlic. We are a garlic fiending family, so there's probably twice as much garlic as there should be in this, but that's our preference. Because garlic makes everything taste better. I'd be doing my Italian ancestors a disservice if we didn't put garlic in everything. So we're good there. As you can see with this one, you can start to see it almost has melted into the bread, just like butter, like I was saying, and that's just from sitting for a couple minutes. So we'll give you a nice bacon cam. Oh yeah, perfect. Bacon's all finished. I like taking the paper towel and just getting any of the excess grease off. It'll get into the paper towel just while it sits here. That'll be our next step, but we'll get to that momentarily. So we'll put that off to the side here. Looks beautiful. I think I'm gonna go ahead and try taking it out now. Perfect. Give it a flip. Again, it's gonna do most of the cooking on this first side, so you don't have to worry about the second side nearly as much. And we should be good. So let's go ahead and take that egg. We're gonna gently place it right there on the sandwich. We're gonna be using Havarti cheese. Some of you might be wondering, Simo, I thought you don't eat dairy. I eat dairy in very limited quantities, and hard cheese is actually somewhat okay with me, strangely. So we're gonna be using this. You could just throw this on the sandwich and the residual heat might actually be enough to melt it. I have a different technique that I'm gonna show you, and I know some people are gonna think this is strange, but I think it's the best way to get the cheese melted, especially if you're, maybe you don't like the texture of certain cheeses, or maybe it's like too thick. Just depends on your preference. But I'm gonna take the cheese, and I'm just gonna throw it right on the pan. This is gonna quickly melt it. Throw it on there for 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds tops, and just like that, it's already melted. So now the residual heat's gonna continue to melt it all the way around, and now you're gonna be okay. So we're gonna do that for my wife's sandwich. I turned off the heat as well while I do this because there's so much residual heat in the pan just from cooking those eggs that you don't have to worry about it. So throw the cheese in, you can count to 5, maybe even 7 or 8. I probably wouldn't go above 10. You can even just see the color of it change just as it sits in there for even a small amount of time. There we go. And remember, there's still heat from these eggs that's emanating, so it's gonna continue to melt just because it's already gotten to the point where it started melting. Okay, so we've got our 2 sandwiches here. To make sure you can get a nice zoom in on this. We've already used our aioli, so we can get that out of the way. And now we can assemble. So we have most of everything we need here. I'm gonna go ahead and take a handful of these bacon strips and make sure that my wife and I have an even number. And I'm just gonna go ahead and crack them in half. And we're just gonna set them along the top of the sandwich here. And again, the heat from this is also gonna help the cheese continue to melt as well. Bacon should be cooled off a bit now so that you won't burn yourself. Man, I'm salivating just looking at this. I'm starving. I was starving before we even started recording this. Then we have the lettuce. And then for me, personally, I don't eat the ribs of the lettuce just because they aren't as digestible for me. So I actually will go and rip around to kind of get around the rib of that. And then the best part, we get to close the sandwiches up. So you can get a good angle there. And there you have it. We have the Cimoooooooo breakfast sandwich consisting of 2 fried eggs in a ring, garlic aioli, turkey bacon, and we also have some butter lettuce. Let's take a bite. That rocks. That makes me so happy. Well, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Cooking with Simo. Let me know down in the comments what you would put on your breakfast sandwich. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.